Appendix. What follows concerning the royal game of Chugan comes from the appendix of Volume 1 of Sir William Owsley's Travels in the East. Ferdusi tells of Slavish and his Slavish, okay, and his Iranian, Persian heroes. Astonishing Afrasiab of Tehran, with their skill at this game 600 years before Christ. Well, before the one the Christians worship anyways. And Gushtap Hystespes, to the sound of drum and trumpet, drives the ball invisible with his blow. Nazami sets Shirin and her maidens, playing at it against her king, Khusrau, Parviz, and his ministers. On one side was the moon and her stars. On the other, the Shah and his firman bearers. Owsley, however, allowing for poetic license, believes the game was played through almost every reign of the Sasanian dynasty, as much as esteemed Muslim kings. Now, let's remember that Islam doesn't indicate that's how government should work, but as by their fire-worshipping predecessors. And there's not really proof that fire worship was ever a thing among the Persians or Iranians or Aryans or whatever you call that race. We find the Greek emperor Manuel Comnenus with his Byzantine princes and nobles enjoying this amusement on horseback in the 12th century, the wooden ball having been exchanged for one more soft form of stuffed leather, and the stick or wand, instead of a hammer-like head terminating in a hoop, which, as our battledores or tennis rackets, presented to the ball of articulated space. This imperial sport, as well as described by the historian Kinemus, who probably was a spectator, it went by the slightly altered name to Sukanisterion, which word, however, since Chugan means the bandy stick employed, more properly signifies, I suppose, the ground played on, and equally related to the Persian, had they chosen to affix, as so often, the verb common to themselves, the Greeks, the Latins, and to us, and called the place of exercise Chuganistan, or Chugan stand, or well, place where they play Chugan, right? One of the things about that is polo and lacrosse and some other stuff come from a game where, you know, an animal died and they played this game of keep away with sticks and stuff, and they decided, okay, we're gonna knock a ball around instead of fight over an animal on horseback, and then the ball's going to get safer, and then the instruments are going to get safer, you could say, and you know, of course, there were different variations of Pietro della Valle, who saw it played in Shah Abbas's time, 1618, calls it Palla Maglio, and found both game and name subsisting in the Florentine Calcio. Only that Florentine played afoot, and the Persian Pio Nobilmente Cavallo, the Spanish Jesuit Valle, found it also on foot under the name of Chuaca in South America in 1646. Well, there were different games of that type that maybe weren't of influence, right? Dukang finds name and game also in the Dictionary of Lingadoc, from which he naturally thinks it borrowed, not daring to push the repetition to the English word chicken. He says, qui signifie un poulet, en sort, que chicaner seroit, imiter les poulets, que en coutume de courir les uns après les autres pour racher les morocco de bec, etc. Englishmen know the game well on foot, and with such leather balls as the Persians perhaps knew not how to harden, under many forms and names: golf, stowball, shinty, hawk, bandy, etc. And golf was just a non-combat form of it, right? And now with regard to the frontispiece, it is accurately copied from an engraving in Sir William's book, which he says, and as those who care to look into the Bodleian for it may see, is accurately copied from a very beautiful Persian manuscript containing the works of Hafiz, transcribed in the year 956 of the Hijra, 1549 of the Common Era. The manuscript is my own collection. The delineation exhibits the horsemen contending for the ball. Their short jackets seem peculiarly adapted to the sport. We see in the Mille Argols servants attend on foot, holding chugans in readiness for other persons who may join in the amusement, are to supply the place of any that may be broken. A young prince, as his par or feather would indicate, receives on his entrance into the maidan, or place of exercise, a chugan from the hands of a bearded man very plainly dressed. Yet, as an intelligent painter at Ispahan, different spellings, right? And as appears from other miniatures in the same book, this bearded figure is meant to represent Hafiz himself, etc. Of course, Persian has a P and some other languages don't have a P. The Persian legend at the top corner is the verse from Hafiz, which the drawing illustrates. Shah Suvara Kush, the Maidan, Amede, Gui, Bazan. Through the sticks or bats are here represented long. They were, as Chardon and others report, so short as to cause the riders to stoop below the saddle bow to strike, which the horse, going full gallop, was great part of the difficulty. And Tabari describes events in the 8th century, just before his own time, when Harun al-Rashid was still little, so that, when on horseback, he could not reach to strike the ball with the chugan. Ousley also, judging from the illustration, in which Persian artists are not very accurate, thinks the chugan sticks were only generally or partially semicircular at the striking end, but that they were so, varying perhaps a little in degree, as our bandy sticks do, is proved by the text of the present poem, as also by a previous line in the original, where the realm of existence is the space of his maidan, the ball of heaven in the crook of his chugan. And passages in Hafiz speak of his heart as being carried off by his beloved's eyebrow, which no Persian lover ever dreamt of, but as arched indeed. As the fair one of Persian mysticism is the deity's self, so the points of that beauty, as in our canticles, adumbrate so many of the deity's attributes. Varying, however, with various poets or other commentators, Sir W. Jones speaks of the hair as emblematic of the expansion of divine glory, the lips as of hidden mysteries, thee down of the cheek as spirits round the throne, whose central point of excessive light is darkened into the mole upon the cheek. The Luck, from a Turkish commentary, interprets the ringlets as divine mysteries, the forehead, their manifestations, etc. The beauty of Absal, though sensual, yet seduces Salaman, the soul, with its likeness to the divine, and her tresses, as we see, play their part in involving him in their intricacies. The following ode of Jami's on the subject very happily entangles the ear with its repetitions of that mysterious Zulf, which closes the first two and every alternate line to the end. La texta de Kete ode says to Saisi, est un charme inexprimable que de an tertoroit in utilement dans un traduction. The Persian, therefore, is here vocalized with nearly as possible in English notes to give the reader a notion of the harmony, which is its chief merit. But I subjoin, for the lover of a literal translation, a very literal one, which he can, if he chooses, place word for word under the Persian, and if he will accept a very little help at starting, may construe into what form he pleases, supplying for himself a verb at a point where the reader of the original has to do so. The apostrophized I here written, but in the Persian only pronounced, either denotes the following noun, pronoun, or adjective belonging to its genitive, or epithet, as in the first line, dil itman, heart of I or me, or acts as passing note of harmony with people who hate all harshness, but indeed between any two consonants and a third, or between any consonanted long vowel and a succeeding consonant, unless that long vowel's consonant be tamam. The zulf in line 3 is an instance of the I in its latter use. In both cases, it is common in quantity. The ra in the 5th and last lines mark the dative. E delaman said e damazulf eto. Dam e dilha gashta nam e zulf eto. Banda shud dar zulf eto dilha tamam. Dam uband amad tamam e zulf eto. Dad e tashrif e gulam e bandara. Zulf eto eman gulam e zulf eto. Lak e ruksar e gulrang eto nist. Jaz ekab va bushkef am e zulf eto. Ram kunan as dam e margan we ajab. Jan ebe aram e ram e zulf eto. Zulf eto bala e ma darad makam. Bazbulan amad makam e zulf eto. Sub e ikbal as etale har nafas. Banda jamara zi sham e zulf eto. And no matter how well the actual sound is, like in Revelation, how you can't just match it, right? Or the actual inspiration of God that was sent, or however you're going to phrase that. But there's meaning and purpose. That's more important, right? Ah, heart, I pray, snare ringlet you. Snare hearts become, name ringlet you. Bound are in ringlet you hearts holy. Snare and bond become holy ringlet you. Give honor slave bound ringlet you. Ah, I slave ringlet you. Worthy cheek rose colored you not is, except veil musky, natured ringlet you. Escape, make from, snare birds, awe strange, soul without peace, obsquious of ringlet you. Ringlet you above moon has place, very high is place ringlet you. Dawn bliss is revealed every breath. Bondman Jami from night ringlet you.